Hi everybody. It's going to be another hot day in Texas, I'll tell you. But I've been wanting to tie up some of my tomato plants and some of these sunflowers that are holding up tomato plants. So I'm going to get with it. It's going to be hot. It's hot already. But I'm going to go ahead and do the best I can. You go get that knife. It's going to be like another 101 or 102 degree day. And I didn't get out here early enough like I wanted to this morning. But some of these sunflowers need to be tied up. Ugh. Because the sunflowers are acting as my climbing stakes for my tomatoes here. My I think it's the Cherokee purple tomatoes that I've got here. Move this back a little bit. Lucky's laying here on the step. As long as this yarn will hold, I guess I'll be all right. It's hot, y'all. Already it's hot. I need my knife. This is stronger yarn than what you think. That knife will cut through it, but I'll tell you what, it'll cut a hole through your fingers if you let it. And I'm doing a slip knot, so hopefully it'll hold it. Let's see, I think they're Cherokee purples, I'm not sure. Yeah, Cherokee purple tomato plants I got growing up in here. But I figured those sunflower stalks would help support the tomato plants, and that's exactly what they're doing so far. I just have to remember to keep them tied up. So that might give some of you an idea of how you can stake up tomato plants when they get really tall. These are they're indeterminate, I know, because they're already as tall as the top of the stake right there. So they get pretty tall. So I should have me some good tomatoes on there. And the sun's so bright I can't hardly see what I'm showing you. Oh, I wanted to get out here under the shade cloth and stake up some of them. And look at this, y'all. I got bell peppers. The leaves are wilting down because it's getting hot out here, but they'll perk back up later today. And look at here at my peppers. This little bush is completely full of peppers. See them all? Feels a little bit better under the shade cloth. It's not quite as hot. But I need to run another cord around this because the tomato plants are falling out of it. So I got to run another cord around this thing to keep it. To keep them inside. I don't want them bending over and falling. See, even though you got a kind of a frame around them, you still have to do this kind of stuff to keep them in it because they'll come right out. And I know green would have looked better, but hey. When you need to stake up your tomato plants, any of it'll work. I have to see what I'm showing y'all. Seems like I always plant determinate or indeterminate tomatoes. So when I do that, they keep growing. And they keep growing, you got to stake them up or trim them off or do something. Only thing is I don't like to trim them off because when you do, you're also cutting off a lot of where the tomatoes would have been. And this thing is so heavy, it's pulling the steak over. This pepper plant here is full of peppers too. And it's wilting down because it's getting the hot part of the day. It'll perk back up. Can't really see what I'm showing y'all. You know what? I think I'll put the camera over here under the shade cloth, and then maybe I can see something about what I'm showing y'all. Yeah, because I got to tie this one up. Got plenty of steak there, but it needs to be tied. They get too tall and lanky, then they fall over. I don't want them to fall over. Whew. And I've got tomatoes. I got little bitty grape tomatoes over here. Look at that. Little grape tomato. They are so good. I'm out here eating tomatoes, y'all. Those are good, y'all. They're so sweet. And that one just came right out of the whoa. That whole thing needs a little bit of support. Put it down on the ground. Whoa, that got kind of big. See if I can get under it without breaking it off. Then I got this one coming up. Yeah, some of you may want to plant determinate tomatoes. The only problem with determinate tomatoes is they They will grow. They'll produce tomatoes usually one time. They'll fill up the bush. And then as soon as the hot weather hits, the whole plant dies. Indeterminate tomatoes will grow all summer, even in the heat. The hottest time of the summer, they'll quit producing. But the plants will live, and then every once in a while they'll start putting out tomatoes just like they just did here. And see, that's getting so tall and lanky, it's got to be tied up somewhere. So I'm going to put it up to this one, I think. Because if I don't, it's going to end up laying on the ground. So if you want a small bushy plant that doesn't get very tall, I mean it don't get 12 foot tall like these do, then you need to plant determinate tomatoes. Determinates will only grow so tall, then they stop. And they'll bear fruit. And I hate to tie this to this stake, but I'm going to have to do something with it. If I don't, it's going to start falling over. And I don't want it to fall over. Yeah, I know having gold string out here probably don't look too good, but hey, it's better to tie your tomato plants up than it is to let them fall. Like I waited too long almost to do this one. This little one down here, I don't know if you can see it. Right here, because it started bending over and wanting to grow down, and I don't want it to grow down. I want to hold it up as much as possible. Because you know, a tomato plant is really designed, or it was intended to grow on the ground, almost like a vine. In every place, the tomato bush would almost touch the ground. It would put out roots and make another plant. But with limited space, like a lot of people have now, everybody has went into vertical growing, which is good. But you know, that really was not the way these plants were intended to grow. They were intended to grow on the ground. And when it produces a new plant, every place it would root, you would have just that many more tomatoes. I remember my dad would plant a row of tomatoes. They'd all fall over, put out new plants, and have tons of tomatoes. That's a little better. At least it's up there. This one's up. Let's see where else. Oh, this one is run out of places to grow. So I'm just about going to have to stake it to the next bush, the next planter over here. And hope that it, the wind doesn't destroy them. I don't know if that's a good idea to do that or not, but gotta do something. I think every one of my tomatoes are indeterminate tomatoes. That means every one of them is going to keep growing. But this will help support them, hopefully. They won't lay on the ground anyway. That'll help hold that up a little bit. Can't help but think you can't really see what I'm doing. I'm just tying up tomatoes. The best way I know how. The plan was to tie them up to the canopy top, but the wind almost destroyed it. And I don't want to tie my tomatoes up to it in case the wind decides to take it out again. So you see it's growing on up there. I mean, it keeps, well, you can't see it because I changed the camera lens. I mean, look at the bird up here. The tomatoes are already outgrowing the cage. And that cage is higher than my head. I mean, you can see the bird is way up there, higher than my head. And my plants are already almost 6 foot tall. And they can grow to 12 feet easy. I don't want my tomato plants to be 12 foot tall, but hey, what can you do? You know? Now, what was I going to do over here? Oh. I've got to tie this. Hold that one up. I mean, it's hotter than Hades, but it's a little bit better with this breeze blowing today. And in the shade. So the shade out here has made all the difference in the world with these tomato plants. Otherwise, I think they'd be probably burnt up. They're burnt some, but not like they would have been. And I got a green tomato on here, but it's already got a bug hole in it, so I'm going to pull that off. Let's see where I need to work on next. That one's going to get pretty heavy. I mean, sometimes you have to cut them off whether you want to or not. Because they'll get so tall. I mean, they just keep right on going. Got to hold this one up a little. So if you live in a hot area like I do here in Texas, if you can, plant your vegetables in an area where there's shade trees. And so at least where they get partly shaded during the day, like especially in the hottest time of the day. Because, I mean, look here behind me. Those tomato plants. Look how tall they are. I mean, you can see where my head is. Look where these plants are. They're above my head. And they're going to keep right on growing. And eventually they're going to fall over. And I don't want them to fall over if I can help it. But, you know, there comes a point where you can't go up any higher. And then you have to make the decision, do you want to cut your plants off at the top? Which if you do, you're going to cut off your tomatoes. Because these type of tomatoes usually put out the most tomatoes at the top. It'd be ideal to have like an arch to let them go over the top of. That was the plan over on the other side of the house where the arbors are. And the tomato plants wanted to go in every direction except the arbor. So that was a problem. So things don't usually work out the way you plan them. Like I got a tomato plant over here that needs to be staked up. And usually if I cut the tops off, I'll put them, I'll take that top that I cut off and I'll stick it down in a pot and let it root and start another plant. So I'm not wasting the plant, and it'll produce more tomatoes. You just have somewhere to put the other plant. That's the thing. Let's see, I think I'll do this number. Put a slip knot on that and I didn't want to. Undo that and try again. Do it in a knot this way. There, that'll hold. But that'll help them a little bit till they keep right on growing. I want to show you what this one's doing. I mean, it was growing up the stake, and then it started bending over. And it's growing out of the pot. Oh my goodness. And I don't want to break it. Look at it, it's all bent over. It's growing like a vine, y'all. Next year I've got to do something different with my tomato plant. I really do. Let's look at this. I need 4 hands. Sometimes when they bend over like that, they'll break. You don't want your tomato plants to break. Yeah, I need these tall sticks or stakes on here on all of my plants, because that's how tall they get. Only I'd have to get a ladder to get up there and get them. And I don't really want to have to use a ladder. See if I can keep this tape from coming undone. Because it's just covering wire. And it might keep the tape from coming off. And I just put the tape on there as a protection so I don't come by and nick myself on the wire sticking out. I tell you, it's going to be triple digits every day for a week with no rain. That is not good for my garden. It's going to be at least 101, 102 or higher for the next week with no rain. I just want that covering the wires sticking out. And this might keep the tape in place, I don't know. It gets so hot that it melts the glue on the tape. And that's not good. Yeah, I'm out here in the hottest time of the day trying to do this. Or one of the hottest times of the day. Let's see what we can do with this one. I got a loose one right here, and it should be growing up in there. There. That's why I put it in there so it'll grow up that thing. But see, they're not bushing out. I mean, they're not bush tomatoes. They're indeterminate grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. This one over here is the hillbilly tomato, and that one's the one that had that great big tomato on the first of the summer, and then it got too hot for it to produce any more tomatoes. But it will, as soon as this weather starts cooling off just a tiny bit. This tomato plant will produce tomatoes like crazy. That's the only reason I don't want to, you know, destroy my plant. Because it might produce more tomatoes than it did in the beginning of the summer, at the end of the summer when it cools off a little bit. All of them may not have time to ripen, but some of them will. And I'll have fresh tomatoes at the end of the summer, and I'll also be able to pick green tomatoes to fry or make chow chow with. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, all of the stuff is just wilted down like crazy because it's just too hot on it. My watermelon, I think, is just giving up. It's been too hot on it. Watermelon don't like the extreme heat. You can see my watermelons are turning yellow. There's one good one right there. I need to pick it. And I need to probably pick that one. I got one over there, but I don't know about it. I've been trying to keep them watered, but I don't know. Got that one there, but it's growing wonky. I don't think it's going to be any good. That one might make it. And this big one up here has already got that end rod on it. So I might pick it and cut it open and just see what it looks like inside. It might be like the other one. Half of it may be good, and then the other part not. But I hate my watermelon did that. And I put fertilizer and all kind of stuff to it. I think a lot of it's to do with the heat, because my tomatoes don't get end rot like that. But like I said, this is the first time I planted watermelon, so I wasn't sure what they do. Next year, though, I know for sure I'm not going to plant them in the bags. I'm going to put them in a tote. And there's my banana trees hanging on. They just don't like this triple-digit weather, that's all. And I've got this one trying to put out melon. See, there's a melon right down there. I don't know if it'll make, but it's produced a melon. Don't know if it's got any more on it or not. My moonflowers are, they're all distressed from the heat. Let me shorten this tripod so I can carry it. I mean, the shade tree is helping, but I'll tell you what, between the combination of the moonflowers, the morning glory, and everything else that's growing in here, it's killing the tree. It's killing my cedar tree. And there's not anything I can do about it at this point. Just let it go. My hostas are suffering. It's just been too hot. They're growing. I mean, they're still alive, but they're suffering. I need to move them. I need to take them out of here and probably put them on the other side of the yard where they get more shade. And I can keep them watered better. So that might be what I do. Yeah, everything was growing good, but this heat, I got to fill my bird feeders up. I guess the birds would appreciate it, you know, if I give them some food. I've kept this stuff a little bit better watered than the rest because it's up close to the door. And my aloe vera, aloe vera loves the sun and the heat. Then that mother plant's putting out more pups. It's going to be full of pups by next summer, and I'll have to divide them up again. but it's already produced 3, 6, 7 plants right there from last year, all from that one aloe vera plant. I wish I could get the aloe vera to live in the garden, the rock gardens, over the winter. I saw a video of a guy that's in South Carolina, and I know they get colder weather than we do, but he had this gigantic aloe vera plant in his yard, and it survives through the winter. I guess it put down roots deep enough that the plant may die back, but then it grows back every summer. And that aloe vera plant's taller than I am. I wish I could get some of that done here. And I may try some of those 7 plants. I may stick them in the ground and just see what happens. But I don't expect them to live. So I don't know. I just don't know. And with those 2 sunflower stalks, they're laying right over the top of my rose bush. But I was trying to wait until all the sunflowers bloomed and died before I cut them. And then I'll just cut the stalk off. Like that one over there, most of the flowers are already died. It could be cut back. I just haven't done it. But you can see the water is the problem. The sun and the water is the problem with me. Because as long as they get shade part of the day and they get plenty of water, they're good. But we're still restricted on our water usage. I mean, it's terrible that we've had, this is the 3rd year of water rationing. And everything in your yard dies if you can't water it. If you can't water it enough. So, it's kind of discouraging. And see, I'm hesitant on taking those 4 o'clocks and that Shasta daisy down there in that little pot and putting it in a bigger pot, because I'm not sure where to put it, where it's going to survive. Probably on the other side of the house in the shade. And they need to be transplanted, really, they do. And then all of this growing here looks pretty good. Of course, the lettuce didn't survive, but this flowers do. I bought some of those one year and they come up basically kind of scattered all over the yard. So I decided to plant them in this, and I said when they're blooming, that's going to be pretty. And I should have some come up from it next year right in those pots on this planter. I don't remember what it's called, but some of them have pink flowers, some yellow, several different colors. Well, let's go on the other side of the house. I wanted to show you some stuff over there. Yeah, everything needs to be watered right now, but what are you going to do? My clematis has suffered. Everything in my garden suffered. My turnips have tried to root up. Some of them have, bulb up. It's just been too hot even on them. And look at those peppers. Pretty peppers. I got to come out here and pick these peppers. My 2, what did I call them? I don't remember what the name of them was now. The Hungarian peppers, maybe? I don't remember. But it was the 2 pots of those new peppers that I planted this year that I've never planted before. And it's full of peppers. My poor turnips, they're bulbing up on me. Some of them are. They're doing their best to grow, but this heat is killing them. The heat is just murder on everything, even my beans. I need to get out here and rake, but it's just too hot. I don't think I could survive. And look at that. Caladium. Isn't that pretty? I figured if I planted it at the base of the clematis, it would help shade the pot and the roots. Because that's what they like. They like their roots and pot shaded. But the plant likes the sun. And see, they're blooming up there. Purple ones. And I thought I had put one over here, but I guess maybe I didn't. I put one over here with the mandevilla. And it's a red mandevilla. And I probably need to tie up some of these tomatoes. I've been trying to keep them tied up as we go, but it's kind of hard. And see, look at my basil plant. And remember, we cut it off almost down to the pot. There was only like a couple of inches of stalk left. And look how big it's gotten. And look how big that one's gotten. You know, I only had 2. And we trimmed them all the way back. And we dehydrated the leaves. I got a whole jar of leaves out of it. And look at this, y'all. Got a bell pepper over there. It's turning. Because, you know, I planted green ones, red ones, gold ones. There's another one right there. Pretty pepper. Those are pretty bell peppers. But look at this. I've got this tomato vine laying on top of it. We need to tie that up. So let me put the camera down. Let the legs back out. Set it over here. Well, that's too far back. And you might see what I'm doing, huh? This is the one I'm going to be working with. Oh my, I got another one over here. I need to get both of them in there. If I can. Get it off that pepper. And I know I'm probably in front of the camera and I can't help it. Oh. Let's see, maybe I need to get this above that limb. And right there might work better. At least I got it off my pepper plant. Because it's growing in the same pot, but that don't mean it's got to be wrapped up together. And then I got this one here. Oh. That I need to do. Because, I mean, look at this. And I probably just need to let it trail over to this next one. I hate to do that, but there's nowhere for it to go if I lift it up. So the best thing to do is just kind of lift it up. Like this, kind of. And it's starting to put out tomatoes, y'all. And that might help. Hold this other one up. Just tie it to the... I hope y'all can see what I'm doing. I don't know if you can or not. But it'll support it, hopefully, enough that it's not going to bend over and break off. Just like that. Because if I try to bend it up and put it back up there, it's going to break. And look at this one. Look how high it is up there. Look at that. I don't know what to do with it. Make it go back this way, I guess. And then go over that way. And then I'll tie it to this other stake over here. And they can grow over the top of the peppers, maybe. I tell you, it's challenging when you grow indeterminate tomatoes if you don't really have the means to stake them up. You have to be creative like this. This one's outgrowing its pot, or outgrowing its trellis. Sometimes I've tried to get them back inside like that and they would break on me. Hopefully this one won't. But I think what I'm going to do is put another cord around it, right about there. And hope it will stay. and help keep those things supported. And then when they get so tall, they come out of that, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Put them over toward the arbor, I guess. That's the way I wanted them, those that I planted at the arbor, to go anyway. I know one of my subscribers, she said, "Can I cut my tomato off?" She said, "It's all tall and stringy." I said, "Well, you planted an indeterminate tomato." I said, "That's not a determinate tomato." I said, "It's not going to get real bushy like you wanted it. You thought it was going to be." And I got tomato plants growing, volunteers, right out of the raspberry pot. And I've left them just to see what they do, and they're getting kind of young, kind of weird looking. And I think I'm going to start tying them up a little bit. And I don't know what my raspberry bush needs. It needs something because it's bloomed like it was going to put out a ton of raspberries, and it's never put out one raspberry. So it needs something. I don't know if it's lime or what it needs. Yeah, I'm going to get these coming up this way. And maybe they won't lay on the ground, or fall out of the pot and lay on the ground. Oh, that itches my hand. Look at this raspberry. I wanted it growing up the trellis. And maybe one day I can figure out what it needs to get it to produce berries. I got to put the lime out to all my plants. And that's what I'm going to do later today, I think. Whew. Got a hair. Like this one here. It's grown from that trellis over here. And it's laid over on the top of this tomato cage. So that's crazy. And the one that's growing in the pot is probably going to try to grow over there. But as long as it's supported, let's see where else I can find to support one. See this? I don't know if you can see it down here. But this pot right here, I've got a tomato plant planted in it. And it's growing right on up here with these other tomato plants in this cage. But it's growing out of the other pot. Which is crazy. Because it don't matter where you plant them, they're going to go where they want to. Unless you come out and tell them no, they're not. They're going to go where you want them to go. But look at that up there, y'all. Look at these tomatoes. Look at this. Look at that. And this one's propped up on this cucumber cage. And I think I'm just going to run a cord to this and put it right here. That's the only thing I can do with it. And that's just to keep the wind from breaking it off when the wind blows hard. It'll help support it a little bit. Don't want it to mess with my... Just give it a little bit of support. And then I got a tomato. Remember that tomato I never did see a worm, so I don't know if it was a grasshopper or what it was that was eating this tomato plant right here. This one. Trying to see if I'm showing it to you. Yeah. But look at all the growth that's come back on it since I sprayed it. I mean, the bottom of it still looks bad. You know, where whatever it was that got on it was eating it. But after I sprayed it, it gave it time for suckers to come out and make a good topping on it. So it'll survive and produce tomatoes. But look at this. They're laying down, y'all. Don't want them to lay down. Because they'll lay down and go all the way to the ground if I let them. I think what I'm going to do is, like I did the other ones, I'm going to give them a brace over on this direction. And I can't do this and hold it. There. I'm going to have a fence of tomato plants, y'all. But I figured this might help somebody else that's growing indeterminate tomatoes and you don't know what to do with them. Because they're getting so tall. They're basically getting out of hand. Just need to give them a little bit of support, that's all. And I really should have started at this end. We go back and do this over. Way to secure get it in there is to wrap it around one time. I hope y'all can see. But I'm just going to kind of wrap it under and around. Kind of like you would if you were going to train it up on a trellis, you know, above. Only I'm just trying to give the tomato plant a little bit of support. Oh, that was backwards. I don't want to do it that way. Just be gentle with your plant, because tomato plants will break fairly easy if you're not careful. Need to go under there. It's kind of a mixed up mess, but you can see it's giving it a little bit of support. Don't look too good, but it's giving it support. And I love indeterminate tomatoes, even though they're hard to grow. I mean, they're not hard to grow, but they're hard to manage after you grow them, because of the fact that they do get so tall and lanky. But they're the only ones that I know that will survive all summer and produce again at the end of the summer. And they'll produce a little bit, you know, in between. Whereas the other ones just die out on you. I'll leave that just like that. But at least that supports it a little. It'll keep the wind from blowing it and breaking it. I don't know if there's anything I can do with these. I do need to spray some of them. As you can see, I got tomatoes coming out of the thing here. Hopefully they're small enough that I can stick them back up in there. Because they're starting to put out tomatoes. Get it off this pepper plant. And I got this one growing from this one over here, and it's just laying over the top. And that's okay. They're supporting one another. This one I don't know. That one I don't know. Jalapeno peppers like crazy. I need to kind of tie those up. Look what I found, y'all. A Roma tomato. A ripe Roma tomato. Off the bush. Lay it right there for right now. tie this one up before it gets out of hand because it's already lanky. There, that'll give that one enough. That one's about to go over. Probably need to tie it up to that over there. How am I going to get in there to it? Maybe I can go up through here enough to tie it. And I got something eating on them, so I'm going to have to spray these tomato plants, y'all. And they got grape tomatoes on them. They grow in clumps just like a grape. Oop, don't want to break my tomato. Yeah, I gotta spray them. But I tied it to that cage over there. And I'm going to run support under this vine here and tie it to this stake or this cage. That'll keep it from bending over and breaking off. Hopefully. I'm just going to leave that there because I may need it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and, because I've got green Roma tomatoes on this plant. And I don't want it broke off. I'm gonna have to put a stake back here and hold these back this way because it looks like they're all connecting. But I wanted to show you my Roma tomatoes over here. Not my Romas, but my grape tomatoes. Look at that. And I got a bunch started up there. I don't know if you can see them. But there's some right there. There's some here. You see them right there? And I got a few right there. And I got some right there started. And see how that's growing over? I'm going to have to connect it somewhere so it don't do that. Well, my camera keeps cutting off with me. So I'll come back and do these a little bit later. I wanted to show you something else. There is my pepper plants. That's one of those really extremely hot peppers. Whoops. They turn red. Thank you. Yeah, I can grow stuff better on this side where they get partial shade than I can out in the sun.
I believe it. Have a good day.
You too. It's my mailman. Look at this pepper. It's a pepper plant. I don't think I've seen any peppers on it yet. But look how tall it is. That's one of the tall tomato cages. And it's already a foot taller than the tomato cage. But here's what I wanted to show you. Remember, I couldn't get nothing to live in this pot. Now look at it. Well, shorten my tripod again so I can show you. That was my mailman, y'all. Remember, I couldn't get nothing to live in the pot. And then I realized it was because Lucky was laying in there sleeping. But look at my caladiums growing in the pot since I put all these little stakes in there so he couldn't lay down in it and kill my plant. They've all come up. And these in the little pots, he couldn't get in those little pots to lay down and sleep, so they had to come up.